What would you do if your neighbor called the cops on you? For cutting down a tree on your own property? How about getting fined? 1,000 for mowing your lawn at 10 a.m.? And what if the HOA forged a legal document just to prove you wrong? Sounds insane, right? Well, it all happened. And not only did I fight back, I won. What followed was a petty war, a legal showdown, and poetic justice involving a squirrel, a golf cart, and a forged map so bad it looked like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Curious how it ends? You'll want to see how far an HOA can go, and how one homeowner took them down piece by piece. Stick around because this story, it starts with a dead tree and ends with a mic drop. They say peace and quiet is why people move to lake communities. For me, it was the view. The sun sets over the water, unreal. The sound of birds in the morning, therapeutic. That tree by the lake, though, dead as a doornail and blocking half my view. So one weekend, I decided to do what any reasonable homeowner would do. I cut it down. 3 hours later, I had a chainsaw in the garage and a cooler cracked open. Life was good. Until they showed up. 2 cop cars, lights flashing, and a woman in a beige cardigan and judgmental sunglasses, standing with her arms crossed. That's him. That's the guy who destroyed HOA property, she pointed. I blinked. HOA property? That tree's on my lot. She scoffed. Oh, really? We'll see about that. Now here's where it gets good, or bad. Depends how you feel about entitled HOA boards and golf carts. Because what Karen didn't know is that I'd already checked the plat map, called the county, and, oh yeah, installed a camera. What she also didn't know was where the HOA board had illegally parked their precious golf cart. Let's just say, if she wanted to play petty, she was up against a professional. Stick around, because what happens next includes a squirrel, a forged document, and a boat ramp showdown you wouldn't believe unless you saw it. And oh, justice? Served colder than lake water in December. Let me set the scene. Lakeside community, about 45 homes, a mix of retirees and weekenders. Most people kept to themselves. Except the HOA board, led by Karen and her minions, Tom, the bitter widower, and Cheryl, the spreadsheet tyrant. They ran the HOA like it was a fortune. 500 company and your lawn length was their quarterly. KPI, when I bought my property, the tree was already there. Dead, half-rotted, leaning like it wanted to fall on someone. I asked at an HOA meeting about trimming it, and Karen looked at me like I'd suggested burning down the gazebo. That tree is part of the shared aesthetic. You can't just cut it down, she snapped, except it was 100% on my lot. I confirmed with the county, so I waited. I documented everything, and when no one responded to my final email, after 6 months, I cut it down. The very next morning, there was a printed violation notice, duct taped to my mailbox, 500 fine, for unauthorized removal of community vegetation. Then the cops, then the pointing, then the smug grin from Karen like she'd won a battle. But the kicker? I saw their HOA golf cart parked right behind my garage, on my property. See, there's a back path from the clubhouse that cuts across a corner of my lot. Most people use the road, but the board liked to shortcut their way to meetings. I never minded. Until now. And that was just the beginning. Within days, the situation spiraled. I got another notice. This time, 1,000 for non-compliance and endangerment of neighborhood harmony. Whatever that meant. I emailed back a copy of the lot survey with the tree clearly on my property. No response. Instead, they doubled down. Karen started showing up, walking around my yard, clipboard in hand. I caught her measuring my grass one afternoon with an actual ruler. "You're over by half an inch," she said, smugly scribbling something. Then came the noise complaints. For what? My dog barking at 5 p.m., a lawnmower running at 10 a.m. Once, I got a violation for having a kayak on the dock, on my dock. Then it got weirder. One morning, I woke up to find caution tape wrapped around my dock stairs and a big sign. Under investigation by HOA, do not use. They were trying to isolate me, shame me, scare me into submission. But they picked the wrong guy. I filed a formal request to dispute the fine. They ignored it. So I appealed to the full HOA. I showed up at the next meeting with a folder of documents, satellite images, property plats, and even an email from the county assessor. Karen refused to let me speak. "You're not on the agenda," she said, smiling. The other residents looked uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Next morning, more tape, this time across my mailbox. A sticky note read, "Mail suspended pending compliance." I snapped, but I didn't yell. Instead, I got smart. I began researching. I found out that the golf cart, technically a motorized vehicle, and parking it on private land without permission? Trespassing, especially since it was being stored overnight. I printed out the laws, called the sheriff's department again, and reported an abandoned vehicle. They towed it. The next HOA meeting was tense. Karen demanded to know who reported it. I raised my hand. I told you, that path's on my lot. Maybe next time, get my permission. She turned red, but then she did something truly unhinged. She forged a map. Next week, I received an official-looking letter claiming the HOA had corrected the property lines based on revised historical data. It said the tree had always been on shared land. Problem? It was laughably fake. A Microsoft Paint job with crooked lines. Even better, my motion detection camera had caught Karen and Tom sneaking onto my property, unrolling a measuring tape and taking photos. I showed it to the sheriff. He chuckled. They forged a plat map? That's a felony. Now I had leverage. And a plan. The petty games were over. Time for real consequences. First, I lawyered up. A quick consultation confirmed what I suspected. The forged plat map was criminal, the golf cart trespass was actionable, and the fake violation notices, a clear abuse of HOA power. I submitted a formal complaint to the state HOA regulatory board. I also filed a report with the sheriff detailing the trespassing and forgery. But the real fun? That started with a drone. I flew it over the golf cart path, documenting every tire mark, fence post, and GPS coordinate. I made a short video montage showing the cart driving over my lot, ending with the sheriff towing it away. It was cinematic. Then I printed large, high-resolution signs and placed them on either side of the trail. Entrance, private property, trespassers will be prosecuted. Notice, all activity recorded for legal purposes. No more subtlety. I wanted everyone to see them, and I started knocking on doors. Hi, just wanted to let you know the HOA's been trespassing on my lot, forging property maps, and harassing me. I've filed a legal complaint, just in case they try it with anyone else. The stories started spilling. Turns out, Karen had been running her own little empire of fear, overcharging fees, ignoring repair requests, sending violation letters for imaginary offenses. One neighbor whispered, she fined me $250 for parking too close to my own garage. Now the residents were angry, and they wanted a vote. I helped circulate a petition to force a special election. We needed signatures from 15 homes. We got 32. The day of the meeting, I walked in calm, holding a folder, and wearing a shirt that read, I cut the tree and I have receipts. Karen was already fuming. The vote was scheduled after a 10-minute public forum. I took the mic. My only crime was removing a dead tree from my property. Since then, I've endured forged documents, police calls, and petty harassment. I've brought evidence today, photos, video, and a legal affidavit proving the property lines. But this isn't about one tree. It's about abuse of power. If you felt bullied or ignored, this is your chance to fix it. There was a long pause, then applause. I stepped back, calm and collected. But inside, I could feel the tide turning. The ballots were cast. And just 10 minutes later, the results were read aloud. Karen, Tom, and Cheryl, all removed from the HOA board. Effective immediately. There was a beat of silence. Then a cheer. Karen stood up, sputtering. This is illegal! I demand a recount! Someone from the back shouted, You want to forge that too? She stormed out, Tom and Cheryl trailing behind her like deflated balloons. The interim board, neighbors who actually cared about the community, took over right then. And there, they apologized for the board's behavior, promised transparency, and even agreed to waive every bogus fine issued in the last year. But my favorite part? The sheriff showed up, right at the end of the meeting, with a clipboard. He walked up to me and said, loud enough for the whole room to hear, You were right about the forged documents. We're launching a formal investigation. If you get any more harassment, call us first. You could hear a pin drop. Karen never returned. She sold her place 6 weeks later. Rumor has it she moved to a condo in Florida, somewhere with no HOA. As for the golf cart, the new board auctioned it off and donated the proceeds to the local animal shelter, Poetic. One of my favorite moments came a week later. I found a sticky note on my door. It said, Thanks for standing up. The lake looks better without the tree anyway. Lot 17, and now, every time I sit on my dock with a drink in hand, watching that perfect, unobstructed sunset, I smile. Because sometimes, cutting down a tree is how you grow roots. So what did I learn from all this? Sometimes the biggest bullies wear name tags and carry clipboards. And sometimes the best way to fight back is with facts, patience, and a really good camera. I didn't set out to start a rebellion. I just wanted my view. But standing up for myself exposed something way deeper. A culture of control, fear, and silence. Turns out, all it takes to break that kind of power is one person willing to say no. Now, the neighborhood's better, quieter, fairer. People wave again. Kids ride their bikes without Karen yelling about helmet violations. The new board even made it a rule. All complaints must be documented with real evidence. No more petty power trips. And my tree? Still gone. The view? Still perfect. If you've ever dealt with an overreaching HOA or a Karen who thinks a clipboard makes her queen, here's your reminder. You have rights. Use them. You have neighbors. Rally them. And you have a voice. Speak up. Because petty power crumbles in the face of calm truth. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to deal with an outrageous HOA or a nightmare neighbor? Tell me your wildest story in the comments. And if you made it this far, comment "justice served" so I know you're part of the resistance. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to see it. Oh, and one last thing. That squirrel I mentioned earlier? Totally unrelated. He just lives in Karen's old bird feeder now. Poetic justice.